Hello, my name is Kelly Bluen. Welcome to my mini mandala series. In these videos, I show you how to make beautiful little mandalas using a few very simple tools. So today I have a micron pen. This is a PN or plastic nib pen. I have a graphite pencil to do some drawing and shading, and I have a tortillon for blending. I'm also using a coin to start my mandala, and I'm just making these in a 5" by 5" sketchbook. Okay, let's get started. So I like to start with my pencil, and I just find a spot on my page to trace the coin. I'm going to do it very lightly, like that. And then I make my grid. So a grid just helps us keep our mandala symmetric. So I put a line across the center and a vertical line. And I also divide up these sections, looking to see if these are even. Trying to keep those about the same. Can always adjust them. Okay, so today we're going to try something that we have not done before, which is instead of starting with a circle, we're actually going to turn this into a square. So to do that, I'm going to go up to this left-hand side and draw a straight line perpendicular to this one. And I'm going to take it all the way to the top line and that midline. Then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I start by making a perpendicular line and then take it all the way to those edges. And I do it this way. And on the last one. I'm going to pick up my pen and I'm going to ink in that square that we just made. And that's going to be the center of our mandala today. Okay. I'm going to draw some things on the inside here. So I'm going to put an orb or a circle in each of the four corners. And I'm making it touch that little circle, just so I can make them about the same size. Then I'm going to add 2 little circles or orbs, one on each side. And if I have a little bit of white space, I'm going to ink that in. So 1, 2, 1, 2, ink in that space. 1, 2, and ink that in. Now I'm going to add an inside aura, which means I'm just going to go along that line, and then I'm going to jump over those shapes and continue, jump, continue, like that. And then I'm going to ink in that outline that we just made. This gives it a nice, bold look. Enjoying that moment of just coloring without having to think about being creative. And then I'm going to put a little reflection on each of those larger orbs. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see that. Okay, then on the inside, I'm going to start at the point in the middle, and I'm going to put a pointed oval on each of these 4 lines. I'm going to put a line and a dot in each of those. And then I'm going to put a small loop on the 4 remaining sections. I love how our little circle in the middle has disappeared. Okay, so I've been playing around with letters and names, and so I was playing with a capital or an uppercase B, and it made kind of a cool design. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to start, actually, you know what? I need to outline this first. I'm sorry. Let's put an aura around this. Okay, there we go. Now we're ready. So I'm going to put a capital B. So I'm going to start at this corner here, and I'm going to go up, and I'm going to bump down, and then go down in the center. So I've got like a smaller one, a little bit bigger one, and then when I come down, I'm going to go up and make a spiral. So here's kind of like the letter B. I'm going to do it on this corner. So I go a little bump, and then I go a little bit bigger bump, and I come down and make a spiral. I do it on this side. It's fun to use letters and repeat them. Okay, so now I'm going to do a backwards one, the mirror image. So I'm going to start from here, and I'm going to do a small bump, and then a bigger bump, and the curve. Small bump, bigger bump, and the curve. You're just mirroring the one next to it. And then I'm going to aura that. Auraing is not necessary, but I like how it separates each section. So I do it a lot. Okay. So for this next part, I'm going to go in these little corners. I should have 4 little corners at the end of each of those square corners. And I'm going to put 1, 2 little bumps. And I'm going to put some lines inside those bumps. And then I'm going to make another pointy oval that matches the one in the center. And then I'm going to come off the side and go down, down, down. So jumping off the side and I go down, down, down. Just fit as many as you can. And I'm going to add that line and the dot to match the center. So now I go to this corner. Oh, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. We're going to put those little curves in there first. I'm going to go ahead and do that in each of those corners so I don't forget that next time. And then you can add those little decorative lines. Then I'm going to put that seed shape, that pointed oval. I'm going to go ahead and do that on each of those. And then I come off the side and down, side and down. And I add that line and a dot. Go over to this one. Just make these little shapes coming off each side. And a line and a dot. When I come off the side, I start towards the top and then I go down a little bit and down a little bit more. I love how this looks different than our other ones because it starts with a square. I like that. Okay, now we've got these 4 sections here. So there's lots of options of things that we can do, but I think I'm going to add a little bit of a half circle, and then we'll put some petals coming out of that. So I'm just going to jump up and come down. Jump up and come down. So I'm going from one of those little flourishes we just did all the way over to the other one. And inside there, I'm going to ink in that center line that we first made to divide our circle. And then I'm just going to add more and fill it up. I start in the middle, and then I just fill that whole thing with little lines. This adds some texture to our mandala. I like having white open spaces, but I also like having a fill whenever possible. One more section. All right, take a moment to loosen the grip on the pen. Stretch your hand and fingers a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to aura this whole thing because I love auras. So I'm going to go right along this edge, really narrow. Then I'm going to jump up and aura these little flourishes. Go nice and slow. Don't rush this. You have more control of your pen if you're going slowly. Look at how pretty that is with the aura. It adds so much. Okay. Now I'm going to go back into these little corner flourishes that we did, and I'm going to ink in that little spot right in that corner. Okay. So for this last part, I'm going to go where this line extended out, and I'm going to put in a petal that starts on one side of the line and ends on the other. And it jumps up and goes a little bit wide, then goes down and up and back down. And then I'm going to add another one next to it. So I'm going to go out a little bit from it because I want these petals to touch. So mine is going to look like that with a space. Yours does not have to. Then if I've got room for one more, I'm going to try to fit one in. Otherwise, it will just end where it ends. Not going to worry about it. Go on the other side, like that. I'm going to put ink in those little spaces in between. If you don't have little spaces, it's okay. I'm going to add a line up the center of each one. And then little lines on each side. And at the top of the large line, I'm going to put a dark dot just to bring back in some of the darkness from the center. Okay, I'm going to go to my next section. I like to start in the center, and I like to put just a little dash line on each side of that center so I know where I want to end. Again, those little spaces. Put a line and a dot up the middle. And a little dash on each side if you have room. Go to my next section. If you have those little spaces, ink them in. Put in the line with a dot on top. And the little dashes on each side. One more section. Hopefully you've got this muscle memory now of making these shapes. And your hand knows what to do. If there's ever a shape that I make that you're not comfortable with, change it. There is no right or wrong. I am not a mandala expert. I just enjoy repeated patterns in a circular formation, but the way I'm doing it is not necessarily the correct way. So do whatever you'd like. Add those little embellishments, and then we're going to aura. So I'm not going to aura this one again. I'm just going to aura the things that we just made. When I get to that large embellishment, I just stop. And one more. Isn't that beautiful? I am going to shade it, but before I shade it, I'm going to put my initials at the bottom. There's that B, that letter B shape that we made. Okay, I'm going to pick up my pencil and do a little bit of shading. I'm going to go around this shape in the center, just putting a little bit of graphite around the outside of that. And then using my blending tool to push it away from the center. Then I'm going to go on the outside of this square, and I'm going to put some graphite right up against that line. And I'm going to gently push that out. Look how pretty that's looking. Then to go into this area with the lines, and I'm going to go on the inside edge of that whole thing. I'm going to go ahead and do all of those. So that inside edge where those lines are. You always want to make sure that you get your graphite as close to that line as you can. Okay, we're just going to soften that a little bit. Gives it some depth. Looks like it's in the background. I just want to always make sure I leave some white in the center. That white in the center is important to make it look like it's got a little bit of light hitting it. Okay, now I'm going to go to these petals we made at the end. I'm going to put some graphite right along that little hill and push that up and out. I think I say this every time, but I absolutely love adding the shading to these when we're finished. Pushing that up and out. The last thing I'm going to do is the little hill on these four corners. There we go. Here's our beautiful mandala for the week. I hope that you loved it. Follow me on Facebook at Let's Tangle to share your work. And please like and subscribe to my videos. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.